in rough shape.
Who explain to me who Dr. Condon was, and why he was chosen as the intermediary, and was the meetup coordinated with the police, or how did that transpire? If you can explain that for our listeners.
Sure. Dr. Condon was in his early 70s. He was a retired, semi-retired educator. He had been a principal in Bronx schools for many years. My grandfather knew him. He was kind of a big blowhard. My grandfather referred to him as an old coot. They were in this Bronx old timers club together. It was kind of a social organization of men that had been in the Bronx for a long time. Anyway, Condon was outraged that Lindbergh's child was kidnapped. And so he had a relationship with the editor of the Bronx Home News, which was the newspaper that my dad was a newsboy, a paper boy for. And anyway, Condon writes a letter to the editor of the Bronx Home News saying that he'd like to be helpful in returning this child to his parents. He'll offer $1,000 of his own money, so on and so forth. Well, the Bronx Home News then publishes a page one little squib. I mean, just a tiny little squib in the lower right-hand corner of the front page saying that Dr. Condon will offer to act as an intermediary in the case. That isn't exactly what he did, but that's what the newspaper said. And anyway, again, my father is the guy that is the kid that is delivering the newspaper in the area, so he's dropping off copies to John Knoll. And so anyway, Knoll reads this squib in the newspaper and writes a letter to Condon and saying, you may act as the intermediary. Lindbergh had said, he wanted to have some mobsters get involved and be the intermediary. And one of the ransom letters said, we're not going to accept any intermediary from your side. We're the ones in control. And so John Knoll reads this, or the kidnappers read this, and they write a letter. The kidnappers write a letter to Condon saying that he may act as the go-between. And then he writes a letter to Lindbergh saying, create a list of instructions to follow.
And all these letters appear to be in the same handwriting?
Probably. I'm not a handwriting expert. And, the first letter looks like the work of an indifferent pupil in a fifth grade grammar school. Might have been done with the opposite hand. Who knows? My sense is that Knoll likely dictated the letters to Hauptmann and then addressed the envelopes himself, and then took charge of mailing them. That is my best estimation of what happened. There was actually a very high-tech, sophisticated software program that was developed by a software expert at the University of Buffalo, Dr. Sargur Srihari, and the Knoll's handwriting was compared to the handwriting on the ransom envelopes, and there was a 96% probability that Knoll wrote